StraightallDay.com.
You do not have depression. Now, I told you yesterday when we were talking about this nonsense concept known as ADHD that today I had another one coming for you. This one is more popular. This one, more people think they have. More people, it appears, want to have this, even if they don't, quote unquote, have it yet. And it seems like people are just lining up to get this. It's almost like a trophy to be able to say that you are depressed in some way. You have some form of depression. Again, it's almost like an award. People are signing up to have this. So today we're going to talk about why you indeed do not have depression. Now, similar to ADHD, there are a lot of people out there who have been clinically diagnosed as quote unquote depressed. You've been diagnosed as you have some form of depression, and you could use it in similar ways to how we talked about yesterday with ADHD, as if this is some solid and acceptable explanation for your behavior, your lack of behavior, or any issues that you may have as a result of, again, your behaviors. You say, well, I'm depressed. I was in the hospital. I'm depressed. I was in bed for the last 3 days. I'm depressed. I wasn't feeling too good. That's why I didn't do the thing that I was supposed to do. A lot of people use this exactly this way. And just like in yesterday's episode, today we're going to break all these false beliefs that people have about what many people are calling depression, what it really is, and why you do not have any type of mental, emotional affliction as you thought you did. And again, these are things that have been made up by the pharmaceutical industry, by the therapeutic industry to tell you that you have a problem that you can't do anything about, and you got to come through us, either this therapist or this psychologist or through this doctor or through this pharmacy in order to get a solution to your problem that you otherwise wouldn't be able to solve without us. And a lot of human beings would prefer to have an excuse and something that they can hold accountable for anything that they don't do or anything that they are doing that is not necessarily what they want. They rather have an excuse for that rather than have somebody hold them accountable for it. And this is the reason why these industries thrive and why people who work in those industries would not want to hear me saying the thing that I'm saying here today, because I'm knocking down the bullshit, at least in your mind. I'm knocking down the bullshit that a lot of them want you to accept and believe, because the more you accept it, the more you need them. The more you need them, the more money that they make. This is a business model for them. And America is a capitalistic society. And in a capitalist society, one of the trade-offs of the dollar being the most powerful thing is that people will do things that I don't believe are ethical or even good necessarily for a dollar. And the pharmaceutical industry is one of those industries. And today, as with yesterday, I'm addressing it on one level. There's a million levels as to why that industry is corrupt and in several ways. But today and yesterday, I'm addressing a handful of them. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is you do not have depression. Number one, you are much more disconnected than you are depressed. When you feel depressed, what you actually are is disconnected. What people call depression is you don't know what your true purpose is. Maybe you don't have any clear structure. Maybe there's not a real challenge that you really feel like meeting. Maybe you lack discipline. Maybe you don't have a vision of achieving or wanting to achieve anything that is meaningful. Therefore, anything you do, you don't really see a path to it, or what's the purpose? Where is this going? What is this doing for me? And when you have that combination, that's when you start to feel depressed. All right, where am I going? What am I doing? What's the purpose of this? Is there anything real behind this? I'm putting all this. Does it make sense to put all this effort into this thing? What's the end game of this thing that I'm doing? If you ask yourself these questions and you don't have answers for any of them, you're just completely disconnected from everything you're doing, even though you are actively doing it, like showing up to work, taking care of your kids, going to the gym, cleaning the house, washing the dishes, et cetera, and you don't see any outcome to any of this stuff, then hell yeah, you're going to feel depressed. If I was living like that and all the things I was doing, I saw no light at the end of the tunnel, I would be fucking depressed too. All right, you can feel depressed when you're in a certain state, in a certain situation, and you don't see things going anywhere positive for you. But to actually be depressed, as if this is just some affliction that you have within you and there's not anything you can do about it but take these over-the-counter pharmaceuticals from the pharmacy, all right, that's some bullshit. That's what I'm talking about here today. So what you actually are is disconnected. And the good news about being disconnected is that you can fix it. You can fix your disconnection by finding a purpose, giving yourself some structure, finding a real challenge to meet, stepping up your discipline because of the structure, the purpose, and the challenge that you found. And then because of this, you have a vision for achieving or wanting to achieve something that is meaningful, which you may need to come up with, reconnect with, or maybe you just need to create it. If it doesn't exist already, maybe you need to create this thing, whatever it may be. But just to say that I'm just depressed as a person and there's nothing that I can do about this, I completely reject the concept. I completely reject the concept of you just saying, I just have this, I'm taking a note on something at this moment. You just have this bad thing called depression that is just causing you to have all kinds of problems. I reject this. This is nonsense. And again, I just told you what it is. If you had any of those things in place that I said, even one of them, you would not feel depressed. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have times when things are not working the way that you want them to work. Everybody has those periods in their lives when things are just not going the way that you wanted them to go. You're not getting the results you wanted to get. You're putting in the effort, but it's not turning over the way that you wanted to turn over. All right, that's not new. You don't have to be depressed to have that feeling. I've had those feelings. I've had those thoughts. I have gone through times in my life where that's exactly what was going on, or at least that's what it felt like was going on in my life. But never did I say, well, I'm depressed or I have depression or there's nothing I can do about this situation. See, that's the escape route. The escape route is to say, though, there's just something inside of my head that I can't control, that only science can diagnose and only drugs can fix. That's why I'm at where I'm at. And then you can always use this for the rest of your life. It becomes part of your hero's journey. Oh, I'm depressed. All right, this is nonsense. If you had a true purpose, you would not be depressed. If you are disciplined in going after that purpose because you see a challenge in it, you have a structure that you can follow because you believe that meeting these goals will lead to a meaningful outcome, it's impossible to feel depressed. See, if you have true goals that you really want to go after and that you're striving to reach and you have some structure and organization around going after them, you don't feel depressed. When a human being is not engaged in something that they care about, your mind turns inward and you start to rot from the inside out. That's what depression actually is, and that's where it comes from. Similar to ADHD, we just put a label on it and called it something, so now everybody can say that they got the same thing. And let me say it again. When your brain and you are not engaged in something, you're not engaged in something, there's nothing that you really care about or nothing that you're really locked in on in your life. In other words, you don't have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. When you don't have that, what happens is your mind, instead of focusing outward on the thing that you want to do, like I want to get this thing done in my business, I want to close this deal, I want to make this money, I want to be able to lift this much weight, I want to go on this vacation, I want to take my business to this place, I want to help this person out, do this thing. If you don't have anything to look forward to on a day-to-day basis in your life, then yes, you will start to feel what we call depressed because your mind is going to turn inward. There's nothing to focus on the outside. So let's focus on what's going on the inside. Ain't much going on the inside. And you start to feel like this is all a dead end. That is what we call depression feels like. And all we did was put a label on it. This inside out rotting of the brain, we call depression. We put a label on it. And then what happens is, moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is you are not depressed. You do not have depression. That's really the point today. You don't have depression. You can feel depressed, but there's no such thing as having depression. Number 2, here's what happens next. Your brain's turning inward. You're thinking everything's bad. Here's what happens next. The pharmaceutical industry now tricks you. The pharmaceutical industry knows what you're dealing with. It knows how and why you're dealing with it. And the pharmaceutical industry jumps into the conversation to trick you. Now, how do they trick you? Big pharma, as we call it. These are these super huge bureaucratic organizations that make a whole lot of money by manufacturing and selling pharmaceutical prescription drugs, or this is called prescription drugs, to everyday people who feel as if they need them. Now, why do you feel as if you need them? Because you had some type of affliction or problem and you didn't solve it on your own. You went to a doctor. The doctor said, oh, your problem is you have this, this, and this. And the only way you can solve this, this, and this is you got to go through things that I'm going to either tell you to do or I'm going to give you to take. And that way they get you hooked. They get you hooked in the system. And it's not because every doctor or every nurse is corrupt. It is because the way the system is set up, they are taught to believe that what they're giving you is exactly what you need. Where do doctors become doctors? They become doctors by going to medical school. Who funds medical schools? Pharmaceutical companies. Who funds the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration? Pharmaceutical companies. They get their money from the companies that they're supposed to be regulating. Your doctor or nurse, if you are a doctor or nurse, listen to this, Don't take it personal coming from me. This is just the reality. You can tell me if I got it wrong. Pharmaceutical companies give money to medical schools to fund the schools. And guess who writes the textbook that your favorite doctor or nurse learned from? Pharmaceutical companies. Or they paid somebody who wrote the textbook, and the person who got, I'm an author, right? People know that I've written books. Let's say a pharmaceutical company comes to me and says, Dre, we'll pay you $500,000 to write us a textbook. And I accept the money. Well, guess what? How am I gonna write that book? I'm gonna write the book the way that they want me to write the book, which is going to, all roads are going to lead to what? Somehow, some way, any problem that you have, any problem that your patient has, because remember, we're writing a textbook for future doctors. So I'm going to teach any future doctor who's taken the class that requires my textbook at Medical School, University of Miami Medical School, that if someone has this affliction or that affliction, then that means that they have this, if they have these symptoms, that means they have this affliction or that affliction. And to solve these afflictions, what you need to do is either perform this operation and or get them on this prescription drug. And you're going to tell them what the prescription drug is. So when you note, and when you get out of school and you're a doctor and you see a patient and they have those symptoms, you notice that they have this thing, you tell them, hey, you've been diagnosed with this. Now you officially have it. Now they can be proud because they got this award of this diagnosis, the patient that is. Now patient, in order to solve this thing or to keep this problem from bothering you or to stave it off for as long as possible, you need to get on this prescription drug and stay on it for the rest of your life. Now, who is really benefiting from this? Well, first of all, the doctor benefits because you had to come to the doctor and see them. They get paid for that. Secondly, they get to feel smart because they told you exactly what your problem was. And why are they telling you this? They're telling you this because this is what they learned in school. So all they're doing is teaching you what they were taught. So I don't believe the doctor is really at fault here. The doctors are just working within the system. But if they get smart enough to see what the system is, they have a choice. We'll talk about that on a different date. They're doing what the system has taught them. They went to school and paid a whole bunch of money to get that degree. This is what the system told me. It better be right. So now the pharmaceutical industry wins because now you got to go get on their prescription drug. The insurance wins because you're on the insurance and they're paying for this shit. And you're stuck and hooked on all of this shit because you can't get off it. Because the doctor told you if you get off it, you're going to experience these terrible symptoms again. You don't want to feel the terrible symptoms again, do you? So you might as well stay on the drug forever. All right, this is how it works. This is the industry of big pharma. This is the drug industry in the United States of America. Big Pharma is a conglomerate of companies within the pharmaceutical industry that has taught your doctors and your nurses to diagnose you with as many afflictions as possible so they can get you either on an operating table or on a prescription drug that you will depend on and feel that you cannot operate without these drugs that you quote unquote need. Thus, you become a recurring revenue product of the pharmaceutical industry. This is the way the industry works. I have doctors and nurses listening to this episode. I've had many of them inside of Work on Your Game University at different times. If you are a doctor or a nurse listening to this, don't get mad at me for sharing the message. This is not even a knock on you personally. I mean, you just work in the industry. You didn't create it. You just work there. The same way that I'll trash the educational system. I'm not mad at the teachers. You just work there. You didn't make the system, but you are working within the system. I'm just pointing out what the system is. Don't be mad at me. I'll be mad at the system. All right, this is the business that the pharmaceutical industry is in. And the doctors and nurses are simply used as pawns. They're used as pawns in the system. And one of them quits and another one replaces them. That's it. They are in the business, I'm talking about Big Pharma, they're in the business of selling you pills so that you stay connected to and tethered to them in such a way that you not only physically but emotionally feel as if you can't operate without them. That's the hustle. Your problem is not that the pill is saving you or that you have a problem that a pill can solve. That's not your problem. The pill is not solving your problem. Those of you who feel like you have depression or ADHD, the pill is not solving your problem. It's just that your energy is not being allocated towards anything that you feel matters. And all the pill does is it is scientifically engineered to tell that part of your brain that is telling you that you don't have anything to allocate your attention and your focus to. It takes that part of your brain and it's the off switch. It just turns it off. Because when that switch is on and your brain is operating as normal, your brain is giving you a signal. Hey, I have nothing to focus on. There's nothing to look forward to. I have no reason to get out of bed tomorrow. Your brain is telling you that. And when your brain keeps telling you that, you feel bad because you realize, hey, I really don't have anything to look forward to tomorrow. I really don't have any real structure or organization in my life. This feels like shit. So you go to the doctor to solve the problem. See, that was your first mistake, was going to the doctor to solve the problem. When instead, what you need to do is come to a person like me who will help you get your mind right because your brain's working the way it's supposed to. Those drugs that you take, those pharmaceuticals that you take are designed to tell certain parts of your brain to stop working so that your brain is no longer functioning properly the way it's supposed to function and actually giving you the bad news that you need to hear so that you do something about it. But what most people have been trained to do is anytime their brain's giving them bad news, let me go to the doctor so the doctor can tell me what the bad news is. The problem with the doctor telling you what the bad news is that they have been trained to teach you and to prescribe to you the solution to the bad news is not for you to do something to change the story in your head, but instead to take this drug that's going to give you an excuse that the story in your head is changing. But what the drug does is it chemically alters the way that your brain functions. That's not natural. That's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to take chemicals and outside agents that tell your brain to operate differently than the way it was designed to operate. That's what pharmaceuticals do. They alter the functioning of your brain. I'm talking about the ones specifically for these mental afflictions. If it's something physical, that's a different conversation. It's still, the principle still applies, but let's just stick to the mental. You don't want to take drugs that tell your brain to do something different than what it's supposed to be doing. And if your brain is telling you something that translates as pain to you, mental and emotional pain, what you need to do is go talk to someone such as myself who can help you diagnose what the mental and emotional pain is, where it's coming from and why, and how we can fix that, rather than let's just turn off the part of your brain that's giving you the bad signal. All right, we don't like the signals coming from the brain, so how about we just turn that off so it doesn't work anymore? That's what the drugs do. This is nonsense. Your body wasn't made to work this way. Your brain was designed the way it was designed for a reason. And your energy is not being allocated towards something that you feel matters. That's what translates as feeling depressed. And since there's no demand being placed on you, your system basically slows down and shuts down. And the pill gives you a temporary chemical feeling of feeling okay. Because again, it just takes the part of your brain that tells you feel bad and turns it off. So it's not telling you feel bad, so you feel okay. All right, this is bullshit and a lie that has been sold to you, and your insurance is paying for it. And you're the one really paying for it because the rest of your life you're connected to this nonsense. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is you do not have depression. Number 3, emotional pain is not a permanent identity. Emotional pain is not a permanent identity. Anytime you find yourself feeling bad emotionally, just feeling down emotionally or mentally or spiritually or just not all the way there, not all the way into it, and you can get to the point that you are consciously registering that you have this feeling, that's actually good news. That's not bad news, that's good news. Why is that good news? That's good news because it is your brain subconsciously finally getting the message across to your conscious mind like, hey, something's not right here. And the fact that you're noticing that something's not right is a signal that you know it could be different and it could be better. But the solutions to things being different and better is not to go take a drug to solve it. See, that's where you go wrong. Every human listening to me has had a time in your life, whether it was a week long or a month long or maybe an entire year, where you didn't feel that great. Things are not working in your favor. Some outcomes are going the opposite of how you want them to go. And you had to persevere through what we call the third day. I wrote a whole book on the concept, the third day. You can get it for free by going to thirddaybook.com. If you're watching on video right now, you see that red book right there over my left shoulder. That is the book. It's called The Third Day. I will physically send you a copy. Just tell us where to ship it. Go to thirddaybook.com. That's spelled out. ThirdDayBook.com. Going through the third day, folks, is not depression. It's just going through the third day. All right. The same thing that many people call depression is the exact same energy that you need to call on when it comes to mental toughness. Same energy. And the third day, going through that, is a temporary season, one that everyone goes through at different times. And if you will find for yourself something useful and substantial to do, the energy would eventually shift. Remember that no season lasts forever. All right, even the seasons that we like. You got spring, summer, fall, winter in America. And if you ever feel like you've been in the season of winter for an extended period of time, that is not Mother Nature flipping the script on you in a sinister way. That is you not moving yourself physically, not challenging yourself mentally, and not putting yourself up against something formidable enough to wake you up out of your slumber. All of these things will shift your energy very easily and very quickly. Let me tell you those things again. Move yourself physically, challenge yourself mentally, and put yourself up against something that is formidable enough to wake up your spirit and give you something to do, give you a reason for being. Struggle, ladies and gentlemen, is not sickness. Struggle is not a sickness. Feeling pressured and challenged, and as if you were up against resistance, these are not clinical diagnoses. This is what life is. This is called life. You feel pressure, you feel challenge, you feel like you're up against resistance. That's not a clinical diagnosis. You don't need to see a doctor for that. What you need to do is meet the fucking challenge. All right, this is how people grow. You grow in life by meeting challenges and overcoming those challenges, and you get better in the process of dealing with the challenge, even when you're not sure how or when or if you're ever going to make it through. That's how you get better. That's how you grow. That's how you advance. You don't go to a doctor and say, give me some pills so I can stop feeling this way, so I can stop feeling challenged, so I can stop feeling down, so I can stop feeling like I'm not doing anything with my life. If you feel like you're not doing anything with your life, you probably aren't. So now go do something, and you won't feel that way anymore. And doing something does not mean go get a drug or have some doctor tell you that, well, there's something clinically wrong with you, so let's take this drug so you don't feel bad anymore. This is nonsense. Let's recap today's class, which is you don't have depression. Okay, similar to ADHD. There are a lot of people out there who have been clinically diagnosed as depressed, and I apologize to you on behalf of the medical industry, even though I don't work in it, for you being told, and then consequently, I apologize to you on behalf of you for accepting this nonsense. Number one, you are more disconnected than you are depressed. All right, when you are disconnected, there's nothing, no challenge for you to meet, no real structure, no true purpose, no real discipline. Of course you're going to feel depressed. You ain't got nothing going on. You have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Everybody has felt like that at times. The challenge is not that it happens. The challenge is what you do about it. Number two, the big pharmaceutical industry has tricked a whole lot of people into thinking anytime you have any kind of problem, especially a mental one, just go to the doctor and they'll give you some pills that will erase the feeling. It doesn't erase the feeling. All it does is just turn off that center of the brain. It chemically alters your brain. You don't want to take anything that's chemically altering your brain. It's an outside agent. You were given all the equipment you needed when you were born. This is the reason why I'm not a fan of the medical industry in general, because they put a lot of outside agents into your body that are allegedly, and on some levels it does help things be better in some ways, depending on what it is. But ultimately, I'd rather take my chances with what I was naturally given and building up natural immunity through natural methods such as calm mind, meditation, eating right, drinking right, taking care of my body, etc., positive energy, positive vibes, friends, relationships, communication, human touch, etc., rather than taking drugs. The pharmaceutical industry has conditioned a lot of people to believe that anytime you have a problem, just go get a drug for it and that'll solve everything. This is very, very bad advice that you have been indirectly told by the pharmaceutical industry. Number three, emotional pain is not a permanent identity. All right, struggle is not a sickness. Every human being listening to me has had a time in your life when things weren't going great, what we call over here the third day. That is not depression, folks. That is your internal communication system letting you know that things are not going great right now. And that's good that the system is at least working and letting you know that things are not going great. The response to that signal is what matters the most, because that response to that signal determines who you end up being. If you ever felt like you've been in the season for an extended period of time, season of winter for an extended period of time, that's not because Mother Nature decided to flip the script on you. That's because you're not moving, you're not challenging yourself, you're not putting yourself up against something that matters. Do those three things, I guarantee your depression, quote unquote, will go away real quick. All that being said, folks, if you're a person who is serious about moving forward fast, if you're serious about getting to the highest level of what you want to do, if you're still here, still saying it, still working on this, still trying to move forward, you want to take your discipline and your effort and your skills, and you want to structurally turn those into dominance and performance and a system that produces consistent results, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. All right, not everybody can say it out loud. I can say it out loud, but we can say it in quiet. We can talk about it in quiet. We are high trust, low noise, high signal. If that's you, you're not alone. You're not the only one. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all